Do you have to be right all the time? Have trouble admitting when you're wrong? That might be holding you back at work. There are a variety of reasons that contribute to why somebody may need to be right more often, or prove their point of view, or have difficulty admitting when they're wrong. Sometimes it's self esteem. Sometimes people are afraid of being seen as incompetent or admitting a mistake. They may have been raised in an environment where accuracy and confidence was rewarded over mistakes and admitting that you're wrong. If you're somebody who regularly needs to be right, who needs to win every argument, who struggles to say, oops, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, then building your awareness around that is important. Noticing your physical and emotional cues when you start trying to win all the arguments or prove your point of view is important. Being aware and then starting to self regulate in that environment and putting new tools together to help you, maybe moving from always being right to being able to be curious or helpful or collaborative. Being able to just recognize and name certain behaviors can be helpful to you. Things like, hey, I'm being defensive right now. Teaching yourself that you do have worth and value to add, even if yours isn't the right answer, even if you don't win the argument, or if you do have to admit that you made a mistake. An interesting challenge to give yourself is to try on the opposing point of view. If you are regularly trying to win arguments or really need to feel like you're winning arguments, just try to articulate another person's point of view. Practicing that can help you lower your guard and not need to feel like you're right all the time. I had a lady at work who was often right. She really knew a lot about the organization, about processes, and who to reach out to get something done. But because she had been engaged in this and close to it for so long, she was very inflexible when it came to working with these processes. So if you stepped outside of the process, even a well intentioned attempt to be more efficient, to circumvent a process, it would really trip her up. She'd become physically angry and argumentative if you attempted to do that. It was her way or the highway, and people didn't want to work with her because of it. If you find yourself in a similar situation or mindset, think about, is this really going to do serious damage? Can I just let it go? Does it really impact me in any way if I just step back and say, hey, have at it? Maybe there is a big impact, and you can take a deep breath and then carefully explain that it's done this way because of safety or compliance or health concerns or risks. Help people understand why the procedure is as it is versus forcing it on them. You might also be able to suggest other paths or alternatives that people could consider. Just pause and ask yourself, even if you believe this is the right path, is it possible that there's an alternative? And does it really matter if somebody tries that? Think about where you get your own strength and confidence from. If you've conditioned yourself to really believe that your knowledge and status is the most important thing, it could be harder for you to admit that you're wrong or to let other people try things their own way. If you're the person who's always getting it right or fixing things or cleaning up after other people, then you may need to choose different outcomes and say, hey, I can still be okay if I let somebody else solve this problem. If you're leading people who always need to be right or who struggle to admit that they're wrong, set the tone for the team with your own humility. The more that you're able to say, hey, I was wrong, or, oh, thanks for sharing that perspective. You've really changed my mind about how to think about this. That kind of behavior and attitude in the workplace really sets a tone for your team to let others know that it's okay to be wrong, to admit to mistakes, and to consider other people's perspectives. When you emphasize curiosity and listening, learning from other people, and thoughtful disagreement, the team learns to behave that way too. And then with those individuals who really struggle with this, whose ego is truly locked in being right, and who really struggle with humility or with admitting mistakes, you will need to coach them in one-on-one environments. You may need to point out specific behaviors and say, I notice that you really push hard for your point of view. Can we talk about that? I see that you struggle when you've made a mistake in admitting that you're wrong. And then work with them on what are some alternative habits and behaviors. Just having the conversations will help to create a sense of trust where you are working with them to help them achieve better outcomes and work better with the team. Start with yourself, then lead others to better outcomes and performance in the workplace. Be a boss.